Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to see how to deploy an ArrStack in our HomeLab. So let's see how to do that. Now, as you can see in this diagram, there are many things present in this diagram. Now, if we start from the top, here you can see there are two sections, internal network and Docker stack. Now, in the internal network, I have listed the internal side of the network on which the server and the router are present. So, here I am showing how the network works on the physical side. Now, here in the Docker stack, mainly we are going to see how all the services are configured and deployed. Now, in the Docker stack, there are many things present. First of all, there is Jellyseerr service present. Now, Jellyseerr is a web UI for requesting the content to be downloaded by Radarr and Sonarr. Now, there are Radarr, Sonarr, Bazzarr and Prowlarr listed as the applications. So, Radarr and Sonarr provides the content, Radarr provides the movies, and Sonarr provides the TV shows which you want to download as content. And Prowlarr is the indexer which provides the index links, or it is kind of a search engine which provides from where the content can be downloaded. So the Prowlarr is linked to Radarr and Sonarr in that way. Now once the request processes from the Radarr or the Sonarr, it goes to the Qbittorrent, which is a torrent client for downloading the given content. So the Qbittorrent client downloads the given content from the Radarr and the Sonarr side, and Bazzarr is for the subtitles for the content which does not have the subtitles in it. Now the Qbittorrent is connected via private internet access VPN, so it is for better P2P connections and for better privacy of the user. Now at the bottom there is also a Jellyfin client listed, so it is a server which provides the web UI for watching the downloaded content. So just to summarize it again, here it is the Docker stack and Jellyseerr is present here. So Jellyseerr is kind of a search engine for us where we can request and download the content from a web UI. So once the request is added, it is forwarded to Radarr or Sonarr depending on the content, and Prowlarr helps them to find the requested content. Now the Radarr is primarily for movies and Sonarr is primarily for TV shows, and Prowlarr helps with the searching of the contents, and Bazzarr here is for the subtitles for the content in which there are no subtitles present. So it automatically searches and downloads the subtitles for the given content. And here in the Qbittorrent, it is the torrent client which we use to download the P2P content, and it processes the Radarr's and Sonarr's requests and downloads them. And after the content is downloaded, we can view it via the Jellyfin. Now in our case, we are using the VPN also, and the VPN service is private internet access or PIA. So we are using that for Qbittorrent to protect ourselves and to protect our server. And we have also set up the port forwarding for better P2P compatibility. Now I will come back later to why port forwarding is important for BitTorrent. So now in summary, all of the internet of Qbittorrent is passed through the PIA or private internet access VPN. So it cannot access the normal internet without using the VPN. Now Traefik reverse proxy is also deployed here. So as you remember from my last video, and if you haven't watched, just click on the I button on the top right side. So in this one, we have deployed the SSL connections and reverse proxied them. So we can use a public URL to access all of the service. Now, by using the Docker labels present in all of the containers, we can access them via public URLs, and they would be having valid SSL certificates. So in this way, we can also deploy them publicly if we want later on. So using ArrStack, you can watch and manage your content effectively and efficiently. So let's see how to deploy it on your own server in your HomeLab. Now remember, in the Docker, the Traefik is already connected to Cloudflare tunnel as we have seen in the last video. So we don't need to connect Traefik again to Cloudflare tunnel if you want to route it in that way. But remember that according to Cloudflare's terms and conditions, you cannot use it to route any video services or any other streaming service. So don't use it for that purpose. So now let's see how to set up the instance. So first of all, to run the ArrStack, we need to create a Docker network named ArrStack. So let's create that. Also, we would include the Traefik reverse proxy also in that same container to route the SSL terminations. So as you can see, the Docker network has been created, and then it should be showing something like this. So after this is done, you can go to Traefik reverse proxies Docker Compose file and edit there and add ArrStack network. Now we have to add the ArrStack network here. Also add the flag external equals to true, and now we will save it. And now just redeploy Traefik reverse proxy to apply the changes. So now once this is done, you need to mount an external storage or a NAS so that you can store the media downloaded effectively. Now I am not going to show you how to do that in detail, but there would be a brief explanation here. So in my case, I have a SMB Share present running on another machine through which I would be going to access the storage. So I would be showing the process very briefly. So for mounting another share, you need to go to the Fs tab. So just type this. Now as you can see here, the internal shares are mounted, so you need to ignore them and just add another external share below. Just go to the last line and add the external share. So in my case, the commands look something like this. Now in the first line and the first part, it is the IP address of this share which I have shared on the machine, and next is the internal mounting point at which the share would be mounted. Now here I am specifying the type is CIFS share. Now here I am providing the credentials file which would be used to mount the share. Now here are some of the parameters which are necessary for running and mounting the share. Now the UID and GID here are very important so that our containers mounted in the ArrStack can access the shared volume. So here is the username and password file. Now we would need to create a file like this. So just type So we are creating this file in the root directory and we are adding a dot before that so that it would remain hidden. Now here you would specify a username for the NAS and next you will specify the password. So your file would look something like this and you need to just save it and apply. So once this is done, you need to change the file permission of this file so that only root user can access this. So just type chmod and set the file permissions of this file. So by setting the file permission to chmod to 600, we are granting only the root user to access of read and write to this file. So as you can see here, we have to create the NAS folder at the MNT mount point. So just go to the directory and create the NAS folder. So this is giving this error because the CIFS utility is not installed on this machine. So we need to install that via typing sudo apt update and sudo apt install CIFS utilities. So just wait for it to install. So now you can try to run the command again. So as you can see, the problem was that CIFS utility was not installed. So now it has given no errors and the share would be mounted. So after all of this is done, we need to head to the Portainer instance which is running on this machine. So we can deploy the ArrStack via Docker Compose or via Portainer, but as Portainer would be easy, so we would be doing it on the Portainer. So before deploying that, we need to add the port forwarding script also. Now here in the Portainer, you need to add a new stack. Just click on the add new stack button, and here in the web editor you need to paste the Docker Compose files content which is present on the GitHub link which is there in the description below. So just copy the Docker Compose file content from there and paste it here. So it would look something like this, and here you have to make some changes. Now here in this config, everything is already configured and the folders are listed as Docker and docker/ArrStack. So these would be automatically created and the config files would be generated and stored there. So the Docker labels are also configured and they should start working properly, but you need to change the domain name in all the labels. So for example like this, you need to change it to your specific domain name. So just change the domain name present in all the labels to yours. So after that, we are going to deploy a script which would be stored in the /root/script so that the VPN would be able to port forward to the Qbittorrent client. Now here we are storing the credentials in the stack environment variable of Portainer. So here you can see the port forward is set to 1. So the importance of port forwarding is that if you use a torrent client, it has a P2P connection. So if there are two P2P clients and if one of them has a NAT connection, then the connection can pass through and they can connect to each other. But if they both are behind a NAT connection, then they can't connect to each other and they can't share any files with each other. So if you are not behind a NAT connection and you have the port forward open to the internet, then you can connect to other devices or other clients which are present behind a NAT, and that way you can connect to more clients and run P2P more efficiently. So that's why port forwarding is important in our case. Now here a health script is also running in the VPN container and also in the Qbittorrent client. So whenever the internet goes down, it would automatically check whether the internet is working or not, and it will show you what is the health condition of the containers. So it is automatically retrying for some time, but if it exceeds that timeout, then you have to again stop and start the stack. Now just name the stack as ArrStack and anything else which you would like. Now if you see here, it would look a little bit weird as we have mentioned the labels at a different place. So the labels of Qbittorrent are mentioned beneath the PIA VPN. So the labels are mentioned here instead of the Qbittorrent one is because we have specified the Qbittorrent to use the network mode as container VPN. So all the traffic of the Qbittorrent would be going through PIA VPN container. So that's why we have to set the labels there. Now this would also work as a kill switch in the case of Qbittorrent. So if the VPN is down, no traffic would go through the Qbittorrent client. Now you would also need the Qbittorrent client to connect to the other services. So we need to change some settings in the config files of Radarr and Sonarr and other services also. So we would change the host name which would be provided there. So here in the environment variables section, we can add the username and password of the VPN. So we can do something like this and provide the variables in the user and password section. Now once you have done this, you can deploy the stack now. Just click on deploy the stack button. So just wait for Docker to deploy the stack and to download the images. So till that deploys, just see here and take a look that in this case I am using PIA VPN or Private Internet Access VPN. So it is having the capability of port forwarding, which is important for a use case. Now some people may have doubt about this VPN, so you can also choose Proton VPN, which is also having the port forwarding capability. And I am using the Docker WireGuard PIA image instead of the Gluton image because it is not having the support of WireGuard of PIA VPN. And I am using WireGuard as it is faster than OpenVPN. Also, you would need to create a script for port forwarding to work in the VPN. So just go to the root directory and create that script to run the port forwarding. So just go to the SSH terminal and create that file. And after going there, just copy the content from the GitHub script and paste it there. And once you have pasted the file, just edit the username and password to yours. So by default, the username is admin and you can set the password which you are going to set later on, as on the first attempt there would be a temporary password generated by Qbittorrent. So just save this file after entering the password which you want. Now set the file permissions of this file so that only root user can access and execute it. So just type sudo chmod 700 and set the address of the file. So Now your file is read, write and executable by the root user. So just go back to Portainer and deploy this stack. Okay, so during the testing time, I just found another bug. So if your port persist option is turned on, as in it is set to 1, then the specific port for port forwarding remains the same on restart of VPN, but that sometimes gives problems in Qbittorrent client. So the trackers of your torrents will not connect. So to fix that, just turn off the port persist option by setting it to 0. So this will fix it for you. And on every change of port, the script will automatically put the new port in the Qbittorrent client. So I will just put the port persist option as 0 in this case to avoid any problems in the Qbittorrent client. So as you can see, ArrStack is there, and here in the ArrStack, just view the logs of the Qbittorrent container. Now here in the logs, there is the password present for the Qbittorrent on the first attempt or the first start. So just copy this password and use it to log in into the Qbittorrent client. Now here in the Qbittorrent login page, just enter the username as admin and enter the password which you have copied from the log. So now just go to the settings page and click on web UI now, and here just click on the password tab and change the password which is set now to that one which you have entered into the script. Now this is necessary to make that port forwarding script work. Now save it. So once this is done, your password is saved and your Qbittorrent client is ready. Now just remember this icon, as this should be green when your node is properly configured for port forwarding. So going back to the config file, we would edit the password there. Now just save the file. So now we need to restart the VPN container to apply these changes. So just select the VPN container and click on restart here. Now you can see the logs of that container. So just give it a little time for setting the port forwarding settings in the Qbittorrent. So after a minute or two, the port has successfully been updated and it is being shown here. So you can continue doing the rest of the stuff. Now you can check the BitTorrent client. So if you still see the firewall here and this orange color icon, then just try to add any P2P file. Just check after that, then it would be green. So let's configure the other services. So we would be setting Prowlarr now. So here is the Prowlarr page. Now here you can set up authentication method so that your instance remains secure. So just set up and just save it. So after saving it, just go to the Systems tab, and here as you can see there are no indexes added here. So just go to the Indexers tab and add new indexer. So this is like the URLs for the searching of content which is required via Radarr and Sonarr. So you can do this individually in Radarr and Sonarr also, but this combines them to a single place. Otherwise you would have to add in both of them individually. So just select whichever you want. So for example, I will just show you. Like adding here, and just test the indexer. So as you can see there is a green icon, so you can save it. So similarly in this way you can add multiple indexers and you can saturate the indexer list here. So just add multiple ones for redundancy and for searching more files. Now just go to settings and click on apps and select the applications here. So we would be adding the Radarr and Sonarr here, but as we have not set up the instances yet, so we need to set up them also as well. Then after we can get the API key here to set up them. So now we need to go to our next service. So let's go to Radarr. So in Radarr also it is asking for authentication. So just set it. And save it. So now just go to the settings here and click on media management, and here just add the folder mapping which we have done in the Docker Compose. So just click on add root folder and select the movies one and click on OK. Now after that just go to the general and here copy the API key present. And now go back to the Prowlarr application and paste the API key here and change the addresses here and change the URL present here. Now just test the connection, and as you can see here the green tick is there, so it is successful. So just save it. Now go back to Radarr and we will add the download client here. So just click on plus and add download client and select Qbittorrent. Now set the host as the name of the container which is running the VPN. So in this case it is PIA VPN. And select the port as port 8090. Now remember, we can also do this via our domain name or the proper URL which is having the SSL certificate, but we are not doing that just in case that the DNS resolving breaks, so that it won't affect our services internally. So that's why we are not doing, and also as these services are running locally on the same machine, we don't need to do that. Now after doing this, just test the connection. And as you can see the green tick is here, so you can save it. So your Radarr is also set up to download the content. Now let's go to the next one, Sonarr. Now in the Sonarr also, just set up the credentials. And after that, just go to the settings, go to media management, add the root folder and click on OK. So here we are adding TV as root folder, and in Radarr we are adding movies as the root folder. So now go to General, select copy the API key and go back to Prowlarr. Now add Sonarr here in the Prowlarr and paste the API key here. Set the URL properly of both the services and make sure this is an internal URL for proper communication between the two services. And test the connection. As you can see, the connection is green, so you can save it. So the indexer is set up for both Radarr and Sonarr successfully. Now the job of Prowlarr is done. So later on you can just add more indexers to make sure you can get a specified content effectively. Now coming back to Sonarr, just go to the download clients and add the Qbittorrent client here. Now specify the username and password and change the port and the host name here. Remember that you need to put the name of the container which is running the VPN service. This is because we are using that network mode in the Qbittorrent client. Now test the connection and you can see it is also green, so just save it. So it is working properly. Now both Radarr and Sonarr along with Prowlarr are set up. So just go set up the subtitles container which is the Bazzarr one. So going to Bazzarr, here we are in the interface of Bazzarr. So we need to set up the subtitles and here just go to the providers. Click on add and here add the generic providers which do not require a login. So in this way you can add the subtitle providers and save it. So you can add yourself later on. Now just go to the Sonarr and click on enable. And here also provide the API key. So just copy the API key and add it here. And change the address to the proper one. And now test the connection. So it has detected, so just save it. And do the same for the Radarr. And increase the score to get proper subtitles. So just save it. Once it is saved, the job of Bazzarr is done. So now you can set up the Jellyfin instance. So now we will set up the Jellyfin instance. So just select the language, then click on next. Set the username and set a password for the same. Then click on next. Now just add the media library, select the content type and add the folders here. And then click on OK. Now just click on OK. And do the same for the TV shows. Just select the shows option and select the folder and click on OK. Then click on next. Now select the language and your country, then click on next and take the option of remote connections and check the option of allow remote connections to the server. Now just click on finish. Now log into the Jellyfin instance. And just download your content. And now we will set up Jellyseerr for requesting the content to download. So now we can use our Jellyfin account to log in. Now provide the Jellyfin URL and provide the internal URL of the Jellyfin instance. And enter an email address. Enter the username and password that we have created in the previous step. And click on sign in. Now here it's asking to sync the library of Jellyfin. Click on sync library if you have content already and select the movies and shows option. So these are both the libraries that we have added in the Jellyfin. So just click on continue and now configure the Radarr and Sonarr here also so that this can directly communicate and set up downloads there. So just configure the options here. Now you would also need the API key again. So just go back and copy. And here in the external URL, you can specify the URL which you would be using for the reverse proxy. So just test this connection here to make sure it is able to connect with the Radarr server. And it is able to establish the connection successfully. So now select the quality profile which would be default and select the root folder here. Now you can add the external URL here which would be the URL you would be using to access the service, and it would be having the SSL certificate also. Now click on default server also and add the server. Similarly, you can do this for Sonarr. Copy the API key and test the connection. So here also you can set the required things. And here you can enable the season folders also depending on your need, and also you can add the external URL here Now you can add the server also, and now you can finish the setup. So here in Jellyseerr, you can request the content which you want to download, and that content would be added, download in the Radarr or Sonarr, and it would be downloaded via Qbittorrent client, and it would be encrypted via a VPN connection with port forwarding. And later on, you can, once it is downloaded, you can view that via Jellyfin client. So this was the setup of the ArrStack. Now, if you want to access this externally, you will need to search for some service because you cannot use Cloudflare tunnel service. Now, you can have a public IP address and then port forward it. So let's try to download a content. So as you can see, here it's showing the content, and you can click on the request button, and here you can choose which season you want to download or request, and select the season and select the quality profile and click on request. So once you click on request, you can check the request section here, and as I am admin, the request has automatically been approved. Now just go to the settings here and click on enable proxy support. So it would properly map the IP addresses coming from the external URLs. Now just restart it later on. Now as you can see, the request is processing, and you can see it is downloading also. You can see the status of each download also here. Now as you can see, the download has been started and it is processing automatically, and it is also showing the status here. So just wait for it to download, and once it's downloaded, it would be shown in the Jellyfin client. Now you can also check the Qbittorrent. So as you can see, there is a green icon here and the downloads are working. So this way you can know your torrent client is open and is put forwarding correctly from the VPN, and everything is working fine. So this was all for this video, and in this video we have seen how to set up a Docker stack of the ArrStack, and using that we can download the content which we want to our server. And also we have set up the reverse proxy support also, which would be having the SSL certificates attached to all the services so that we can access them securely. Also we are using the port forwarding in the VPN so that we can connect to P2P clients more efficiently. So I hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, then share and subscribe and comment, and any suggestions also, you just mention them down below. So thank you for watching, and see you next video.